During a time when cell phones didn't occupy our lives, when getting a girl's number written on your hand wasn't such a distant memory, Southern hip-hop was at an all-time high with artists like Mystical, P.D. Pablo, and Ludacris, Shake Fast, but watch yourself, and pop-punk bands like Blink-182, Good Charlotte, and Brand New were in fact not new. If you miss running home from school to catch Carson Daly on MTV in hopes that you get lucky and Eminem or Fred Durst would be on that day, then this video's for you. My name's Alex Majewski, also known as JSky, and in this video, I'm gonna be talking about the year 2000. And that's it. The video's over. Thank you for coming. Just kidding. Let's get into this shit. Let's not forget about Y2K and the fear that the world was going to implode. Everyone thought that the government's computers would get hacked and Times Square would blow up. But as you could see from this photo, that was a risk that many were willing to take. I remember the first time I ever saw Britany Spears on TRL, I literally fucking jetted to my bedroom to write her name down. I just thought she was important. I thought she was really cute. And the only thing I could literally find to write down her name was like an arts and crafts popsicle stick. So I wrote on it with like a marker or a pen, Britany Spears, because I thought it would be something that I really needed to find in the future. So we're hoping that I've had a little bit of growth since then, but fingers crossed. Pop music was at its peak with boy bands like NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys and Christina Aguilera. This is a really special point in time because before the 70s and the 80s, there was some things going on, but there really wasn't like a mix of culture and it wasn't so accessible on TV in the way that it was. And I was immersed in it. I wanted to be just like everyone that I was watching. I had a karaoke machine in my bedroom with a couple strobe lights and I would hop on my bed and I would fucking sing along and perform for my mom's loser ass friends. I would perform on top of my bed wearing like a fucking open cap visor, if you remember those, rapping along to songs from Eminem and Limp Bizkit and sometimes even Backstreet Boys. It was a really cool time. It was really special. One of the things that I really cherish about this year was we didn't have that much. It's like the things you had in your house and what TV was showing you that week is all that we had. So finding these things and just playing with the few gadgets and toys that you had lying around the house was special, and you just have to use your creative mind to just kind of push that and make the best of it. Now we have accessibility to everything. You scroll up on TikTok or on YouTube and it's just a flood of more information, more content. In a way, it makes things less special because when you have less things, you could be more creative and it just makes you really appreciate the things that you do get. The Marshall Mathers LP even dropped this year. This is when you could get a leaked bootleg copy and life was good. This is when we were wearing like Rockaware and Fat Farm and I was obsessed. I had these white Fat Farm shoes with the baby blue P, and at this time all I was wearing was baby blue and white, which is fucking weird because I ended up switching and wearing like only black for 10 years. Let me know in the comments how you felt during 2000 during this time, and if there's any moments that I left out in the video, let me know in the comments. For those of you who weren't there during this time, when you were at the mall, you would see Abercrombie & Fitch as you were walking down with your mom or your friends, and you just hear fucking like club EDM, like German house music playing. There'd be like models standing outside. It seemed like the coolest place to literally be in the fucking mall. And you would walk in and it was just fucking fumes. It was all of the cologne was sprayed on all the clothes, and it was definitely a vibe, and it was a little more expensive than I could really afford, but sometimes I would get a t-shirt or something like that. Maybe they'd have something on clearance. But the culture of Abercrombie & Fitch was sick. That's what everyone wanted to wear in high school for the most part. You know what I mean? There's different scenes and stuff, but there were times that I was more into hip hop or preppy shit or rock or whatever it is, but having an Abercrombie like muscle tee at the time, because I always worked out, was a staple in my life regardless. And I'd rock my Proactive and I rub my chin against it and fucking bleach it out, and then I have to throw the shirt away. But that's another story for another video. Groups like LFO with the song Abercrombie & Fitch, if you remember that. I like girls that wear Abercrombie & Fitch. Rest in peace to their singer Rich, who passed away a long time ago. Actually, I think this past year another one of the members passed away as well. Super sad. They have some really dope music, super influential to me and a lot of people. The year 2000 was really special for music and culture. We would have media that was being shown to us, for example, on MTV, and this was one hub, one place where you would post up and you would see everything from nu metal with Korn all the way to Christina Aguilera and Britany Spears to Eminem, and the list goes on and on. Before this point in time, everything was a lot more segregated and genres weren't mixing. You had hip hop over here and rock over here and pop over there. But now we had places like TRL and MTV that were merging the cultures together. So it wouldn't be crazy to have like P. Diddy in the same room as Britney Spears. And I could really just give a gazillion examples of that. Even though we have progressed more as a society and as a culture with inclusivity, there is a lot more segregation when it comes to subgenres. Back when everything was curated by MTV and was put in the one channel, it made it so everyone knew what was going on in pop culture together. Versus now, when we're using social media, it's essentially us choosing what we want to see, which is kind of making it so everyone's blind to the other avenues of music and culture and fashion and things like that. So in ways, it started the trend and it kind of like flip-flopped it as to like the way we are now. This is around the time where I got an ab roller. I was like a little chubby when I was like 10 or so. So I started doing like 60 to 100 ab rolls a night and I literally puked my first time, but you best believe I had the fucking best six pack in all middle school, kid. It was a cool time. Like, I just want to express like how special shows like MTV or Daria's World or Jackass, The Real World, Spring Break, Road Rules. Nowadays, we get so much oversaturated content. Everybody is showing us their own BTS from their iPhones, and we're seeing it all the time. So it's not really that special when we see like fucking Drake's Closet. But on MTV, this was the only time that we'd see a glimpse into someone's life. And this might happen once every year or 3 or 5 or never. So when we would have a special episode of MTV and we get to see like fucking Ludacris or Snoop Dogg's living room, it was next level, super influential, and I fucking loved it. I used to watch that shit all the time. We would have Tommy Lee. It just was nuts. And The Real World was so special. I've been watching that shit forever. And this was just 7 strangers picked to live in a house. And very much like the late 90s and the 2000s, what I'm talking about of just kind of taking people from all walks of life and putting them together. We'd have people of different ethnic backgrounds, people that were gay, people that were straight, people that were in a frat and sorority, people that were fucking indie and secluding themselves from society because they have shit taste in music that was created in basements. All these people came together and it was fucking beautiful. It was so sick. I definitely recommend you guys watching. Maybe like season 16 is probably my favorite, even though that was made like a little later in 2005. Nonetheless, check out The Real World. MTV was so on top of it. It was so sick and I do miss it. Like, I love TikTok. I love YouTube. Instagram has some content, but it's a little fucking blah these days. And just seeing how it was then was really special. Like, for sure it gets boring. Like, every week they would play the same episodes all week. Like, I remember just taking the same fucking Friends DVD and putting it on over and over again. I'd watch Baby Boy 800 times. And like, I don't have to do that anymore. But it kind of, in ways, like devalues the creative process and like the work that people put in, because there's so much saturation. There's so much content being made at high levels on phones at a lower level, things like that. So now you don't have to rewatch content. You don't have to get a build up and be excited, because you could just be like, I'm not gonna watch it, or I'll watch something else, or I'll watch 4 minutes of this. So for those reasons, it's a little sad, and maybe people don't try as hard anymore, but we have a lot more opportunities to fucking come up, a lot more opportunities to learn and to grow. So this is just life, and I just wanna kind of talk about what it was like to be there in the year 2000, because it was a good year for me. We didn't have so much access to information. We couldn't just go onto our phones and Google search whatever the fuck we wanted to know. Like, our source of information was like our friend's older brother, or my stupid mom giving me like toxic energy, or the DARE program where some stupid cop would come into school and tell us not to do drugs. We had True Life MTV. I remember an episode like True Life, I did ecstasy, and they take you to the doctor's office and they were showing like people having holes in their brains. I don't know if that's like completely fucking true, but I definitely was like not on board with taking ecstasy, so perhaps that was a good thing to show for me. Well, maybe I did it, but a while later. That's like what we were working with back then, so it wasn't great. We had a lot of misguided information around the year 2000, and that's left people with permanent tramp stamps, tribal tattoos, giant dragons on their backs, and Japanese and Chinese calligraphy. And you don't really know what it says, but it probably doesn't say Kimberly, and that's a fact. Let me know in the comments if any of these are ringing true to you, like whether you were there and you experienced some of this shit, or like maybe your mom or your like fucking wacky aunt like has like some fucking crazy gauges, or you've seen some pictures where she had the crazy like glued up hair or some tattoos that they like try not to show you unless you're forced to go to the beach on a family trip. So let me know in the comments if you could relate. It was a weird time. People had cabbie hats, goatees, and it wasn't really frowned upon. A lot of times in my videos, I have a very specific topic, like I'm talking about an artist or I'm talking about certain bands, and the undertones of like how genres had an impact on the youth and switched into another genre, like in video where I talk about how like EDM essentially like was the culprit that created the response, which was emo rap, and you could check that video out if you have some time. But in this video, I wanted to just kind of have like a nostalgic dump. The year 2000 was crazy. We had the millennium. We were coming from the late 90s where we had a lot of genres and groups of people coming together for the first time, which is beautiful. And that has just set a trend to where we are today. Music and the media and TV was just at an all-time high. Things were on a creative flow in a way that I've never seen before. Like obviously we have accessibility and so much content being created, but a lot of that stems from the time period of the early 2000s when the technology was starting to advance, but we're in a place where people could still be creative because they didn't have like fucking AI generating it for them. I'd love to hear what you guys think of your experience from the 2000s. If there's any shows or music or TV or just crazy wacky shit that happened during that time period, let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll address it in future videos. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Please subscribe. My name's Alex Majewski, also known as J Sky, and I make these videos weekly. See you next week. Peace.